Good morning. Welcome in to Down South Football Podcast with your boy Bernard Williams in the building. And we got our man, Mr. David Gardner. What's going on, man? We are on here after the first night of the college football playoff. Just talk a little bit before the first one kicks off here at 11. How's it going, Dave?
Hey man, it's good, man. I always have like these Saturday morning shows. It's refreshing. It gives me a reason not to lay around in the bed and be lazy. It gives me a reason to get up, and get the day going, man. So this is something that I think this should be a staple, kind of going forward. A little early morning, about a little 10:30 show, about 10:30 ish. It's been good for the soul, man.
Well, it is good for the soul. It does help because getting out the social media hell of the game last night, uh, it makes you back excited a little bit more about what's to come. Puts things in perspective. This is kind of where I'm going with everything. So but it is great. But we are here today on this morning. Uh, Shout out to Jared. One of the reasons why. Hey, what's up, Jared? One of the reasons why he encouraged us to come on. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
going.
We did promise him a show. We promised him a show this morning too. Yeah, yeah. We told him we were gonna make it happen.
Yeah, we told we're gonna try our best to make it happen, but we made it happen. We uh got a busy day, not just in football, but in some other stuff with life. With his life, you got it's the last Saturday before Christmas. It's a lot of stuff going on. The world gonna be busy today. That don't mean everybody else is. Unfortunately, I will be, but the world is gonna be busy today. So before we get into today's matchup, Dave, because this is what Jared said. I suspect the Indiana to have a better showing than that. Let's get in that. Let's talk about last night. Um, Notre Dame versus Indiana, and everything that I knew about Notre Dame was pretty expected. But I want you to take the floor on what we saw last night.
From my perspective, man, the first thing that came that showed to for me, the first thing that I noticed that jumped off the tape for me was the the fact that Indiana receivers could not stretch the field. It was as if Notre Dame cornerbacks were running the routes with them. Um, so going forward, if I'm Indiana, I'm going to have to get me one or two guys that can stretch the field, and that way that'll make what they really want to do kind of hit some underneath stuff, kind of open up a little more. I thought that athletically, Notre Dame looked superior. I also noticed that Notre Dame will be good for a few more years. They got some good, darn good young talent out there on that defense side of the ball making some plays. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I just saw a team that that just looked more sound, more ready, played more polished in the Notre Dame. Indiana to me looked as though they were, yeah, like we ain't never been here before,
And like it
right?
was like there was a difference. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even though that game was 20-3 for a long time, you take away the long run that the misfit on the long run that Notre Dame running back. What's his last name? Is it Love? His last name is Love, right? Yeah. That guy. First of all, he has amazing speed. I've never seen nobody get to the 40 yard, run 40 yards, and then get fast. I ain't never seen that before in my life. But they say he was a state champion in the 100 meters, so it makes sense. So I saw some good things with Notre Dame. I saw some some things I think Indiana can address moving forward because the things they wanted to do, the RPO game, just was not happening. They just couldn't get separation. They could never get the running game going. Running backs, to me, they were bouncing it a little too much. They would instead of okay, it may be a 1 yard gain, but heck, they might turn into a 4 yard loss because they're trying to bounce it and make some other stuff happen. But overall, man, then to come back at the end, I sat there and talked to little Dave on the couch. I said, what looks like could happen better not happen. You
Right.
better not be to play like crap all game, and then you coming tied up within the last 4 minutes. So, but overall, man, the game to me was quite boring. And I think it had a lot to do with the commentating. Wasn't really big on the commentating.
I just think the game was just
yeah, it was, but yeah, the commentating could have been a little bit better, man. They could have had me somebody else. I mean, this is the first college football playoff game ever, right? Like the 12-team format. Give me somebody. I mean, I know Gus has other, he has other things going on right now. He got college basketball. I get it, but give me a little bit more personality. Not today. You probably gonna get all the personality in the world, right? But last night, I mean, come on, they could have gave me a little bit more. But overall, it is what it is. Notre Dame won. Notre Dame was the favorite. They should have won. They took care of business at home. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, and to piggyback on your point, also you had two teams that they don't do what I call exciting football the way there's exciting football in today's day and age. Mm-hmm. They're two very teams that you saw. We're trying to establish a run. We're trying to get things going. We're going to hit every once in a while, hit some plays. But Notre Dame is a defensive, run the ball team. Riley Leonard, they don't ask him to do everything in the world, but they're solid with it. They're truly with football, and that gives to it a lot, because even with a team like Indiana, they wanted to establish a run. They wanted to do this type of thing. They didn't have the deep hitting plays that they was doing, even though they averaged more points, but still, it's just, I think that had a lot to do with it also, with you to go along with your point.
Right. All right. You could be right like that. I mean, it was, I was expecting the excitement really to come from Indiana's offense going into the game. It really
right.
was. But they played like they were cold, bro. Like really, like they played like, I don't know if it's a little different. I don't know if that Hawk hit a little different in South Bend or what. They just looked like they were not calm. They never settled in and got calm at all.
Well, and on that point, like Curtis Rourke never looked
at all.
He never looked comfortable because they was on him. Notre Dame D-line was on him at first. They were pressuring him. They was getting to him a little bit. It just never seemed like he was comfortable to get in the rhythm, because they kept saying he got to get in the rhythm. He got to get in the rhythm. Like you could tell even the offensive coach on the sideline talking like, we got to do this. We got to do that. We got to do that. It never felt like it was a thing of whatever. But one thing about it was Notre Dame, a lot of people wanted to, count out who Notre Dame was as an overall team because of their loss to Northern Illinois, or the fact they wasn't in the conference, or this and that and that and this. But Marcus Freeman has a good, solid team. But before we even say something about the next couple of what's the name? Let's a couple of shout out here. Oh, what's up, Steve? Yeah, it's been a little while, man. I ain't heard from you in a while, man. Hope everything good with you, bro. Hope everything good with you. He said the game was very boring. I feel the atmosphere of it was like, if you talk to people that was there, they were saying like, the ambiance around it was like what you expected.
Right.
But only thing that we can feel is the atmosphere of the field.
I mean, it looked like it was just dreary, and it was no really excitement. And by the way, I will say this: Indiana's defense did not play bad. It really didn't. After that 98-yard run, I think he ended up with like maybe 10 more yards for the rest of the night.
Yeah,
he ended up with like 108, something like that. So they didn't play bad, bro. They did mishaps.
They didn't play bad, but also the other thing was like, a lot of people that was there were saying the same thing. This atmosphere was electric surrounding it. You know how something you just got to be there inside of it. And a lot of times maybe it didn't come off like that on TV. I don't know if it didn't come off on TV because of what we were just saying beforehand, which was the two styles of play for the team. There was no electricness to it because of the fact of, Indiana didn't come out and really move the ball, kind of Notre Dame. You could see Notre Dame just slowly taking control of it, stuff like that. Maybe no fireworks because the game like Clemson and Alabama back in the day comes in mind, where it's like, there were fireworks. That kind of, if you had put that game in that environment last night, man, you don't know what you would have get. Like it just seemed that way when it came down to it. But man, I from a historic standpoint, and just from a straight college football standpoint, you had to be happy to see what we're seeing. Forget everything else, man. Forget all the other stuff. You're literally talking about a playoff at another team's home stadium, not neutral site. So you get all the ambience, all the pageantry of everything, and you take it to a historic place like Notre Dame. I think we have gotten caught up with the fact of everything that has surrounded it and not what it actually was to the significance of the game. Like that's something that you would draw up on a PlayStation. First ever college football game, playoff game in the house of Touchdown Jesus, Notre Dame, snowy.
Yeah.
Because it was snowing that day, cold. It's like you got everything that you could pick in a PlayStation matchup.
Facts.
Except for the game.
Facts.
Except for the game itself. But Dave, do you want, before we move on, because we ain't got but a few minutes before 11 o'clock, do you want to expand on what me and you was kind of texting about last night, and we've even talked about like the whole people talking about Notre Dame, talking about Indiana kind of thing, like the
yeah, you're speaking to like some people out there talking about the 12 best teams versus the 12 teams,
the worthiness of them, and how you can speak to that. I mean, I know I have something to say, but you go ahead.
See, the first thing I would say towards that is that you have to have a mindset shift, right? That whole ideology. If you go back to the beginning of college football as we know it, even to the pre-BCS days, right? You had it was opinion based. Okay, the Associated Press, coaches poll, things like that. They chose national champions, even if they didn't play each other, right? They said that this team is the best team. Then you got to the days of the BCS. They were able to match up who they felt like were the two best teams. Then you get to the college football playoff, the 14 really was just a +1. They still had the ideology of who they felt was the four best teams. Now, last night when we were texting, I was sitting down here just kind of thinking and talking to my son. I said, well, let's back up a minute. If we had a 14 playoffs, who would really be in it? I said, you would have to take Oregon because they're undefeated. All right. I would have to take Georgia because they got one loss, two losses. Well, they one loss, right? Two losses. They got two losses, but they're the SEC champions, so I would have to take them. Then who's going to be your 3 or 4? Now you could argue Boise, yes or no, but I would say they probably would take Boise. And the crazy thing is that when you look around, you would have to take Notre Dame because they don't have one loss, right? In the 14 format. Now we got 12, and we still not. It's still an issue. So my thing is this: to the teams that you feel like are the best teams to get in, the truth of the matter is that the only thing they needed really to do was to win the games that they were supposed to win. Not the ones they were underdog in. Win the ones that you really were supposed to win. Right? You take care of business, and let's just go ahead and be frank, better, because we live in Alabama. We live in Birmingham, Alabama, right? So Nick Saban heaven. If you win one of your two losses, you are in. So it's so subjective. I can't just say that, hey, this team would have played better than Indiana last night, because we don't know. We'll never know. But what we do know is if you play your schedule, you win your schedule, right? Because your two losses, well, 3 losses, 2 of the 3 were in conference. Only one was really turned out to be a really good team. The other 2 were not that great.
All 3 was in conference.
Yeah, all 3 were in conference, right? So you got one of them is of the three teams you lost to. One is going to go to the playoff. One did manage to get to a bowl game, which was Vandy. I don't think Oklahoma made a bowl. So, man, you just got to play your schedule, win your games, and let the chips fall where they may. And my last point on this, when we talked briefly, it's just like the playoffs in the NFL. You have a wild card round, right? That wild card team, you can say, well, I think they might get hot and make a run. Or that wild card team could be, hey, they don't stand a chance in hell of beating this team. But the bottom line was they met the criteria. They did what they needed to do to be where they were. So that's where I'm at with it. The whole 12 best teams, that's subjective. Because if I ask you to name me 12 teams, if you're going to give me 8 SEC teams and 4 from the Big Ten, then we don't even have a conversation. So that's my rant for this morning. I digress. I yield my time to Senator Williams.
You crazy. I don't look at it as a rant. Here's the thing about it. And we try to warn people about this. I've heard a lot of things about, why do we have to do conference champions? Why do we have to do this? Just give me the 12 best teams. Like you said, 12 is very subjective. But see, we come up with games last night. We really just came off of 4. Am I right? Just walk with me for a second.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not defending anybody. I'm just giving counterpoints because everybody wants to be on that other bandwagon right now. We didn't have blowouts in some of them semifinal games when they had a month off to prepare.
Yeah.
What was the difference? You had a month off to prepare, and you still got blown out in a semifinal game where there's only 14.
And these were supposed to be your 4 best teams.
Because it comes down to being subjective. The reason why that we have the stuff that we have now, let's be real. The 4 went to the 12, but not because to put everybody else in. 4 went to 12 because of money. The same reason why in a couple of years it's going to go from 12 to 16 or 12 to 14. It's all going to be money-based. But what I have a problem with is this. And, and I think I told you this. It's kind of what Nick Saban was saying. I have watched and seen everyone on social media tear down Indiana. They probably had one of the best seasons since God knows when. I have to look it up to get the correct figure. They literally went 11-1 before they lost that game. And right now, nobody wants to celebrate them having that 11 win. Nobody wants to say nothing about it at all. And that's pretty tragic. I mean, truth be told, because it's not their fault they played the bottom half of the Big Ten. Because in most years they're gonna go 5-7, but they didn't do it this year. They brought a bunch of transfers in with their coach that came from James Madison, and they did what they did. But guess what? That's been most years in a quote unquote playoff. We've never, in my mind, got like what I say would be the 4 best. It seemed like it was 4 best, but in most playoff scenarios, whether it's college football or whatever football it is, like NFL, you might have the best division in football, but all 4 you can't get in. Then you have a team that'll be 7-9 and win the damn NFC East. I'm just using it as an example. Well, of course, that 7-9 team might not be one of the best, but because of rules and because of everything else, they get a chance to get in. Well, maybe one of the better team does not. That's just because of their division champions. And I want to address the conference champion part of it. Now, we talked about it before. Here's the part, thank God I deal with details, that people don't get. For them to even bring the college football playoff to where it is right now, the 10 D1 conferences had to agree. They had to agree to this particular format. Of course, if it was up to the SEC and Big Ten, they won't guarantee. That's what they propose now. They want 4 guaranteed spots out of the 12. You have to come to a middle ground to say, okay, conference champions. Because beforehand, it was conference champions don't matter because you had teams like a Georgia and Alabama who could lose a conference championship and they would get in, and people raised hell about that. Conference champions at least give you something to continue to strive for the rest of the years. Maybe they could do different things with the seeding, and that's what the meeting on January 20th with this 2-year deal is going to be about when the commissioners and everybody else meet. We understand, just like Saban said this morning, it's not about being the best system, but you can't say that it's not a better system than what we have. Yes, we had games like we had last night, but that's not going to take away from what Indiana has done, or maybe we're not giving Notre Dame enough credit because they are a good, solid team. So moving forward, I would rather have a 12 than just have a 4.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's the whole thing. So when I hear people talking about the conference champions, I say, well, this is what they did at first. That doesn't mean it can't be revisited, or the seeding part of it can't be revisited. It's just that from where we were to where we are now, it's different. The 4 didn't go to 12 because they felt like it was some terrible tragedy. that ain't the real reason why they went before the 12. Like that has nothing to do with it. And it had to be negotiated behind the scenes.
Right.
It had to be negotiated behind the scenes because you got to feel like you're included. But all I'm just saying is, from just a straight football standpoint, man, let's just enjoy what we got right now, bro. Let's enjoy what we got. We literally got a 12-team playoff. Playoff don't always mean your best team's gonna be in. Don't always mean they're gonna win. You take the NCAA tournament. Look at the people that win the conference championship. They get an automatic bid. It's not always the best team that wins or loses. Now, those teams always get in because it's a bigger thing. But I'm saying that sometimes you're gonna get that.
Right.
You got to show some deference to other conferences or whatever, because that's the only way they can continue to coexist. Now, are they eventually going to separate? You know what I'm saying? P4, everybody else? Yes, that's on the horizon. But then you really go into an NFL model.
Right. And the truth of the matter is that even when they separate, every team is not going to be a great team. Somebody's gonna be extremely great and somebody's gonna suck. So that's just what it is. I don't care what level of sports, from little league to the professional. Every team, we got the Big 10 and the Big 12, this, that, all this. At the end of the day, somebody finished number 1 and somebody finished dead last. And the realization of it is that these conferences are really, you only really got about 4 really good teams in some of these conferences. Your other teams are kind of middle of the road teams. You just don't really know what you might get from Saturday to Saturday. But those people out there, they give them credit because of the top half of their conference. They want to say the whole conference is this, but at the end of the day, man, somebody's gonna be good, somebody's gonna be mediocre, and somebody's gonna suck.
Man, we've gotten terrible bowl games. We got terrible Super Bowls. We've got terrible playoff games in football. We've got all kind of stuff. It just so happens that last night that Indiana and Penn State was the first one. Now, it ain't gonna do nothing but fuel the fire if the game we're about to talk about now, from what we talked about 2 nights ago, SMU and Penn State. It's only gonna fuel the fire if Penn State boat race SMU, which I don't see them doing that. Not with Kevin Jennings, not with everything that they got on the defense, but the brand name SMU don't register with a lot of people because of what it is. If Penn State beat them, so what? If SMU beat them, it doesn't prove anything, because you can't be subjective afterwards and be like, you can't say like, oh yeah, this happened, this just proves my point. Actually, it doesn't. It doesn't prove the point. It just, you got look at whatever. Anyway, SMU at Penn State. We talked about the other day. This is going to be the first game at 11 o'clock. So we talked about the other day with everything. What do you feel is give me your one key to the game?
My key to the game is going to be up front. I like SMU's defensive front. Can Penn State block them? And if they can block them, can Penn State dominate them? So I'm really, and also can SMU block Penn State, right? So I'm going to kind of look there. I think Jennings is going to make plays. I think SMU, see if they can maybe not give up some big plays in the passing game. You just got to make tackles, because he ain't going to throw it over 35 yards. So make the tackle.
I think we made the point. I think we made that point the other night.
So my key to the game is gonna be up front because I think that's where the best of both of these teams are. So yeah, that's my key to the game is can SMU get pressure and get penetration on Penn State's offensive line. So that's where I'm at with it.
You know what Aller, like we said the other night, he likes to stay inside the hashes because he got the Mackey Award winner and Ty Warren going up and down there for the tight end. Right. That's going to be a key with them. Of course, Singleton, one of their backs, is really, really good. What's going to be most of the games, but what's going to be the battle up front? What's going to be the battle up front? Can SMU get home with some of that odd defense that they run? We talked about Brashad Smith the other night for SMU. Like, the SMU got some playmakers, on both sides of the ball. Will it be enough to go through Penn State and completely shut them down? Gonna be huge to the game with controlling and stuff like that. I'm like I said, I'm looking at SMU inside the number. Not saying they're gonna win. I'm just saying I'm looking at them inside the number. But talking about Clemson and Texas, really, really quick. Do you see a path for Clemson to beat Texas today?
I do see a path. I see a path.
Of course, this would be the game that I'll have to watch on my phone.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I see a path. I think it's possible. I don't think it's probable, but I see it being possible. If they can run the ball effectively, because that's kind of the strength of their offense. Kind of like they can get rolling, running the ball, and maybe get some turnovers. They can get some turnovers on Texas, right? Shrink the field some, things like that they can do to maybe to get out front. But I don't know if Clemson just has the type of offense that can just they don't really have an explosive offense to me. They have an opportunistic offense where they can get some good field position, things like that. I think that the strength of that team to me is defensively. So I think they can make it ugly. I think it's possible, but I'm rolling. I'm kind of leaning towards the Longhorns, but it can get interesting.
And maybe we'll take, later on tonight, we'll take phone calls. We'll see how everybody kind of feel about it. Put the number back up there and take some phone calls, let people call in and see what they need to do. But the thing about Texas has always started slow. Not always, but they've started slow on a few games. I'm not worried about Sark scheming up stuff because that's one thing he's gonna be able to do. Can they execute? Can they keep Quinn? Can they keep him? Can they keep him clean? What packages do you have for Archie Manning? Excuse me, not Archie. Arch Manning coming in, all that kind of stuff like that. So it's different thing. Can he get them in a rhythm? Can he do all that kind of stuff? It's a lot that goes along with it. Can they establish a running game? But Clemson's, defensive front, as we talked about before, is a very, very solid front, really good front. Shout out to what I like to call the fam. Shout out to the fam, Peter Woods and them boys up there doing their thing. You just never know. You never know when it comes down to it. But I am more in favor of Texas because it's at Texas. Of them keeping it a number. But it's like I said, it's almost 11 o'clock. But we had a longer conversation about the other stuff that we need to do. That's why we have to continue to come back. Tennessee, Ohio State. What's your keys that we have, that we talked about beforehand?
Yeah, I think that we talked about the other night. What how will we see, right? I mean, what are we gonna see? We also talked about the fact that Tennessee likes to play a lot of man coverage. Today may not be the right day to do that. Depend upon, again, what how we will see. Now, at the end of the day, Ohio State has two of the premier backs in the nation, two great backs. So you always can lean there. So this is of all the matchups, this is very intriguing. I think that Ohio State will get the run game going. My question is can they, if it gets in a shootout, can they last? That's my question. So can they make enough plays defensively? But if I had to make a pick, I would. I'm leaning towards Ohio State because I would really love to see Ohio State and Oregon game in Pasadena. I really would like to see that.
Jesus,
And
Jesus,
hopefully,
Jesus.
hopefully it's probably about a 3:30 kick. So by the
Oh,
time the second half started, that thing gonna
that
looking real fun.
that sun get to going down.
So that's my Christmas wish is to get them two in the Rose Bowl to advance in semi. So that's where I'm at. So
Well, like I said the other night, I talked about them about having their DBs on the island. What Tim Banks, the defensive coordinator for Tennessee, was talking about. All that kind of stuff like that. How they gonna rely on them a lot? How can Ibeka and all them boys, Jeremiah Smith, a grown man as a freshman, a really grown man as a freshman. What can they do? But I've always said from the Tennessee side, which Nico are you going to get?
Right.
Which Nico are you going to get? Because the thing about Tennessee, and I think it's came out this year, their offense has often been based off the run, even when they took the deep shots and all that kind of stuff. But now this Tennessee team is based more off of 100% more to run and more on the defense. James Pierce on the edge. What is he going to be able to do? Is Ohio State line, is it completely intact? Like, you have a lot of these questions that's going on right now. Like, they don't really pass as much as they normally do with Tennessee. But Ohio State can have a stiff rush defense. But once again, we're going back to the trenches. None of them are dominant, but they're good teams. Like I said, OSU and Tennessee is a game I'm really looking forward to. Hopefully, I'll be back from the other game. Like I said, basketball game, 2 hours?
Yeah.
2 hours, yeah. So I should be good and back home by the time that's up. Because I think Auburn and Purdue kick off at 3:30. I think that's what time it kicks off. So yeah, but it's 11 o'clock now. It's time to tune in. Y'all go watch it. We might be back tonight, man. We appreciate y'all tuning in for this little quick thing that we did. And we'll be back later on tonight, man. Steve, it's good to see you, man. Quintel, everybody that's in here, man. And hey, y'all enjoy this, man. Enjoy this historic stuff that we got going on with college football right now. And y'all already know we're going to talk more about the true details of everything else. But for Down South football, man, it's Renard Williams. Got our boy David Gardner. We out, man. Go enjoy the games. Peace.